that legislation for state policing be passed by the National Assembly to tackle insecurity, constitutional amendments, restructuring, and how viable the opposition is are ways forward to solve the current challenges plunging Nigeria as a nation. Take a look.
We have been crying and shouting for change of service chiefs before our taciturn, very slow and sluggish president decided to effect a change. And just after that, he reappointed those fatigued generals, those tired generals, to become ambassadors again, just like a paycheck. Go and rest, go and relax yourself. You see, we are suffering as a nation because we don't have forward-looking, proactively engaging president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If you ask a child now what will be his aspirations in this country in the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years, he can't place his hands on any jar to say this is where we are heading towards. Other countries are talking about electricity vehicles. They are talking about so many other things, reproducing human beings in scientific form in such a way that they can live longer than now. These are ideas that are coming out from scientists all over the world. What do we have as a government here? We are still busy talking about Fulani herdsmen, such a primitive, primordial, business that is located within the ambit of certain persons in the country. Such a private business now becoming a national culture. You can imagine the tomfoolery all over the place. It's almost leading to like a civil war, another civil war in this country. So we are not engaging, we are not interactive, we are not conversing. The president is a monologue. He doesn't discuss with us, he doesn't talk to us as a country. He's comfortably being cocooned inside the comfort zone of Aso Villa, and whatever you people feel, you can go to hell. That's just the impression. So whether you change everything, don't change everything, for me, the war on terrorism and insurgency has to be fought by ensuring that Nigerians buy into it. You cannot gain intelligence on the field if you don't carry the communities along. And so how do you do that? You need to continue to insist, to tell Nigerians that, one, you have capacity to do the job, two, that this is our country. But when people see that certain persons are being treated preferentially than others, the information they ought to give out, they won't give it out. Just only yesterday, they said one terrorist or one notorious kidnapper was captured in Oyo State, Ibarakwa, and before you say Jacob, 3 OPC members were arrested and put in the police. The other man who was arrested is gone to the hospital. They say he's very frail. They need to treat him first. So this is the scenario we are. We're a country of several countries, and nepotism has not helped issues. We keep saying one Nigeria, but in reality and in practical sense, it's becoming like a forlorn hope. So it's difficult for a lot of us. And when you engage issues, you speak truth to power. You are being threatened. You are being harassed. You are being intimidated. See, I'm afraid for this country. Whether you even split the country into 4-5, I'm still afraid, because our geographical boundaries will still be the same, because we have so much interwoven to ourselves that it will be difficult for any country that is created of Nigeria to just live on its own. So for me, insurgency, yes. Are we fighting it? We are fighting. We are trying. Our soldiers are going through difficult circumstances, difficult terrain to do this fight. Are they being motivated enough? No. And it is as a result of failure of leadership that you begin to hear regional voices, regional agitations, taking currency, than a patriotic call or support for the country as a whole. The Igboho is a metaphor for our collective failure. He represents the new order of, if you cannot protect us, let us take our destiny in our own hands. Let's see how we can protect ourselves. So whatever you see the way he started off, He gained national prominence all of a sudden because people have been looking for that leader that will take the gauntlet, pick up the gauntlet and show a roadmap. Now there is a new dimension to it. And you see, my worry is this. The Fulani herdsman is a businessman who takes his cows from the north down to the south to seek for greener pastures so that his business can flourish at the detriment of the farmers who are also into private business of cultivating their land, growing crops, and these crops will be eaten up by the herdsman. And now because of insecurity, cattle rustling and what have you, according to those who are defenders of the herdsmen like the Mieti Alas and Macban, they now, they now carry AK-47. And when you had governors saying that somebody can carry AK-47 for self-defense, it worsens the matter. This business is not our national business. It's not a national culture. It is barbaric. It is outmoded, outdated, no longer feasible. In fact, you punish the cows for taking them on a long walk, on a long trek from the north, coming from Futajalo, enter Nigeria down to the south. And these are persons who are only following trading routes. But they got a defense in President Buhari when he visited Donald Trump. You remember? He said the Fulani herdsmen, they just carry cutlass and need to cut foliages that block their right of passage. So that's an endorsement. And this is what is giving the kind of valve that these people now have, to torment anybody. In my village of Okpara, you hardly can go to farm because you encounter them, you are likely going to be killed. They kill people, they rape their women and all of that. Kidnapping has become another issue. Armed robbery is no longer even the discourse now. So how do you think we can move ahead away from this? If we don't have a leadership that is futuristic, a leadership that is proactive, a leadership that is responsive, a leadership that is, prompt, that has his hands on the table. But we need to have a country before you can conduct presidential election in 2023. And so we are praying. Nigerians are good prayer masters. So if we pray more, God may answer us to help us remove Buhari in 2023. Let him just go peacefully. Let him go and enjoy his retirement. But we must guide President Buhari jealously, to land the ship of state that is presently amok, so that in a way he can deliver anybody in 2020. They will not begin another narrative. But lessons must be learned, and those lessons are all within us. The geopolitical zones in the country, they share different aspirations. We must sit on the round table to discuss. We must ask ourselves whether we are good to go as a country. If we have to, don't force us into marriage and all of that. If we are good to go as a country, we must put the issues on the table. We must address them. There was a conference sometimes in 2014. If that conference recommendations are okay, we must try to implement them so that we can have a national narrative. We can begin to encourage ourselves that this is what we want to be in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time. We can begin to address that. But now we are just looking at presidency as one resource where people just hustle to get into so that they can appropriate our collective patrimony in a way that suits them. You see the corruption going on now, so much corruption. You see, EFCC chairman was promoted barely a few days before they invited him for question. If you know he wasn't qualified by virtue of his status at the time you were recommending, why do you have to push him forward? Because he's related to somebody who is called Attorney General of the Federation. Things are not done this way. Anti-corruption is not fought this way. I have good knowledge of anti-corruption because I went for studies in the US on how to combat corruption. And this is one perception issue that will rub off on the credibility of the anti-corruption agency in fighting corruption. If the process bringing you up is fraught with questions, you think you have the morality to question me why I stole money, or why I decided to abuse my discretionary powers when you have abused yours? These are the issues. So we like to pander to the sentiments of where he comes from, where I come from, and all of that, instead of addressing issues holistically as Nigerian. And it will take more than a century to begin to address issues if you have a leadership that is still taciturn, withdrawn, out of circulation like we have in President Buhari.
With the right political will, amendment to the constitution to have a decentralized police, the safety of lives and property of citizens can be guaranteed. Oluwatobi Enito, reporting for Viable TV.